Thank you, everybody, to joining us here on the Allen and Aaron Sports Talk Radio Show. We're very delighted to have author, speaker, and recovery pastor, Mr. Craig Brown, the author of Stop Hiding and Start Healing. How you been?
I'm doing well, man. Great to be with you this evening.
Oh, same here. Great for you to have us, and definitely thank you for joining us. And it's very important that we wanted to have you for this month of May because it is Mental Health Awareness Month. That is something that is very, very important here at the Allen and Aaron Sports Talk Radio Show. We want to specifically avoid, as much as possible, people going and crossing the bridge and doing, suicide prevention. So one of the things that that happens a lot with a lot of student athletes is they let maybe the pressure, the overcoming fear of success get to the best of them. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you talk about anything in life, and especially when you talk about elite athletes, it's everyone will tell you it's 90% mental. True, even the top, your top tier athletes, all the way down to your up and comers. I mean, I was an athlete myself, played a lot of basketball back in the days, and my three sons were actually really good athletes. And the mental part and the mental aspect of just life overall, it rules everything. It just rules everything. And I mean, we have a choice every day on our approach, on our attitude, on our behavior, on the choices we make, on the dedication we're going to give to that particular, talent or whatever that may be. But I've seen it in so many different ways, and in my own son's lives, in my own life, and those athletes that I've been around all my life, and also in my in the past over 2 decades of ministry that I've been a part of and helping people in recovery and dealing with mental issues, which certainly drives one's desire, as you mentioned, cross the bridge.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and you hear these stories, you read about them all the time. It really breaks my heart to hear a parent have to say that this is the cause of death. What can we do as a society or just as a friend to maybe avoid those situations as best as possible?
Well, we've heard a lot. We've heard a lot from leadership in different departments, government, crime prevention, police, other agencies. We hear a lot about that when you see something, say something. And you and I both have been around long enough, where we see those different shootings in schools or athletic events that end up, with fights and things like that. But leading up to every single situation, there were warning signs. And if it's one thing I stress with the people that I've served over the years, and that is self-awareness, and also pay attention to the warning signs that we are surrounded by, not only individually, mentally, and emotionally, but just your surroundings. And I think as a society, over and over and over again, we are reminded that if we see something, a behavior in a person, or that is out of kilter, or totally opposite of what that person usually displays or demonstrates, something's up. And unfortunately, in society, when people are struggling, the first thing they like to do is hide and isolate. And it's hard to get that person to come out of that shell sometimes. And that's essentially why I wrote my book, entitled it Stop Hiding and Start Healing. And that is, when you're struggling with it mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever that may be, the best thing you can do is step forward and speak up. Now, the people surrounding that individual, the best thing we can do without being overly intrusive is to approach them. Hey man, help me understand what's going on. What's going on, man? I notice you're kind of down. You're not yourself lately. Talk to me. What's happening? And if you can have that empathy and just that engagement from a heart level, man, as society, we could go so much further, in a healthy way than we are now.
No, I totally agree. And it's very good that you mentioned that finding those warning signs that sometimes a lot of people say, I didn't notice anything different. And I
Yeah,
think that there
I
has to
know.
be something there that had to
Right.
have changed where people can hide some things, but they can't hide everything. Talk about
You're,
that a bit.
yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Yeah, when it comes to behaviors, actions, isolating, anger, quick to anger, mood swings, not doing well grade wise. As a coach, their primary role is the health and the well-being of their players, first and foremost. Unfortunately, in society, it's wins. But but to engage with a young man or a young woman at that level, they are the one of the first touch points for them.
Mhm.
And they should be fully aware and trained to be aware of those emotional swings and other things. A lot of us just don't know what's going on in the home. My
Mhm.
coach, when I was playing in high school, I was just in a very dysfunctional environment, but no one really took the time to ask me, hey, what's going on? What's going on behind closed doors? And that is always where things are going down that we are oblivious to. And that individual that's struggling behind closed doors or hiding or in
Mhm.
isolation is a little bit fearful of coming forward. What are people going to think of me? Am I going to lose playing time? Am I going to be seen as weak? No, it's being seen as strong when you can reach out and ask for help, but it's hard for people to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And definitely, I'm so glad that you wrote your book, Stop Hiding and Start Healing. One of the things that I know that you've mentioned was dealing with the past. A lot of people struggle with dealing with things that have happened in the past. What advice can you give to them in that situation?
The good news is you can create a new past.
Mhm. Yes.
Despite what the old past, what your past was like. Every day we have a choice. All right. Tuesday is in our past, right? Monday is in our past. And we have an opportunity every single day to create a new one, despite what our old one was like. And I stress that all the time. People look at me funny. They're like, well, how do I do that? Well, we have an opportunity every day. Before you can create a new one, you've got to deal with the old one. And sometimes the pain of the past is really, really hard for people to embrace and also very hard for them to grasp and to deal with. Because you see, when pain presents itself in our life at every level, any level, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, we're first conditioned to run from it.
Yes.
It's not natural for us to go, oh, good, pain's here. And I have an opportunity to grow, build endurance, change, and get stronger. That's how we should approach it, but
Yeah.
that's not always how we do approach it. Our first reaction is to gonna run.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when people are presented with their past. There might have been the alcoholic father or the abuse or trauma or abandonment or betrayal or broken families, and that just wreaks havoc on a young person's life. Well, the good news is that you acknowledge it. Okay, it's there, and I'm suffering as a result of it, but I'm going to work through it. I'm going to inventory everything, and I'm going to work through that with the help of other people to guide me and to heal from that. I am going to make a concerted effort to heal from that. Now, as a result, after I've been doing this for the last weeks, months, years, I'm not looking back in pain anymore. I've been able to deal with that, for confront it, embrace it, and tackle it head on, heal from it, change from it, grow from it, and build a brand new one. So
Yes.
5 years from now, I'm not looking back in despair and sorrow and sadness. I'm looking back in hope, encouragement, endurance, and growth because of what I've done dealing and now letting go of my old past.
Yeah. And that's so true that every day is yesterday and you have to let it go. You don't forget, but I agree with you. You have to kind of find a way to go ahead and move past that.
Right. Well, that's where the mind comes in.
Mhm.
Okay. I heard a study not long ago that we have on an average of 70,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
70,000. And you know that research also pointed to the fact that 80% of them are negative.
Mhm.
80%.
Wow.
And that's the negative self-talk that we are feeding ourselves on a regular basis, especially in athletics and sports. I didn't make the cut. I'm not a starter anymore, or, and then it can wreak havoc on a young person's life. It really can. Oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm a failure. No, it's all about pivoting to the positive and being the positive self-talk. Now, I can speak from a spiritual level because of my experience in ministry, and the Bible's full of encouragement there. But just on a practical level, instead of I'm a failure, that don't take on that identity. Your identity is you're a winner. You're made for success. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You change that negative talk into positive encouragement for yourself, and it can take you so far. Especially you can change that 80% of negative thoughts into a positive, pivot and swing the pendulum. Man, it'll change your entire life.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's such great advice that, I have the pleasure of interviewing a lot of boxers. They lose a fight and they self-internalize that, hey, somebody was actually maybe better that day, got the best of me, and they just go downhill and they get in that cocoon and just stay
Yes,
there.
and that's hard,
Hmm.
especially at an elite level. I mean, boxing, think about that. Think about that. And they're going to go back and go watch the film, and obviously whatever they opened themselves up, and they weren't following through on their regimen. The trainer is over and over and over again.
Yeah.
They're watching film. He's going to do this. They're going to do this, and he may have had or she a lapse, and then bam,
Yeah.
they go down. And it's, that's part of life. Boxing's a beautiful sport, and it's just a part of life. It truly is, because we're in battles all the time in different ways in our life. And that individual sport, just in that ring. But you get knocked down, and again, it's about and when we get knocked down in life, people think, oh, I'm just a failure. But we've been taught, you and I, over the years, that failure is just an event.
Right.
That you were down on the mat, but that was just an instant, and you got up, and now it's on to the next. What are we going to do different? How are we going to train different? What's your nutrition going to be like differently? How we, it just
Yeah.
offers opportunities,
That's
you
right.
know, to,
You don't lose, you learn. You don't.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely. But see, I didn't have a mental game back in the day. I didn't have a mental. I didn't have I should have played college basketball. I had opportunities. And I didn't, but I didn't have the confidence or the mental game. I just didn't have it. And as a result, it didn't work out. Now I could, go through the rest of my life with regret, but I've worked through all that. That's just not, I've processed that. But, when we do hit those situations, look at it as an opportunity to grow and to change and to persevere and to do something differently.
Yes, absolutely. You got to pivot, you got to move on, and you learn from it. And that's the thing. Mental health is so very, very important. Your book is definitely, and your presence coming out to speak to places and speak to people, talk
Sure.
about that avenue of how you can help Craig Brown and other people in other venues.
Well, it's because I understand. Back in the early 80s, again, I dropped out of college. I dropped out of school. I was working in DC at a business that was owned by the biggest cocaine dealer on the East Coast back in the early 80s. I got sucked up into that lifestyle, into that deep, deep, dark pit. And it was debilitating, and it was very, very painful. It was my own decision, my own decision. Of course, I blamed everybody else back then, but then I took responsibility and realized our choices, determine our outcome. But anyway, I extricated myself from that. I went back and everything I'd done to become a basketball player, an athlete, and I just began to change my life. And so now it's not easy. I shouldn't use the word easy. Now I'm honored to have had that painful, very, very painful experience, because it's made me who I am. Everything I am today,
Alan.
everything is the result of my deepest pain.
Mhm.
My marriage, as a dad, as a ministry leader, as a businessman, everything I am today is a result of that very, very deep pain.
Yeah.
So what's happened in my life is I have empathy,
Yeah.
and it's missing in our society, especially for people that are struggling with mental illness or, and any emotionally, mentally. Um, so my heart is for that person to either avoid my experience, or if they're in there, to encourage them and be there for them to help them get out.
Yeah.
And that is my mission and purpose in life, where I am now. And that is, until I'm all used up, to find opportunities to be able to bring inspiration, encouragement, truth, hope for anybody that may be struggling mentally, physically, dealing with addiction or just depression, or just, or even in the business sense, or athletics, just, they're down, they're just, the mental game just isn't there. Just to, talk about how to develop mental strength in the midst of your challenges, and so many other principles that we don't have time for me to
Yeah.
share all of them. But I wrote the book for that very reason. Instead of hiding and isolating, step out and allow yourself to find a path of healing, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and it'll take you to a level you never ever thought you could get to. And that's really my heart, for everybody to I can't help everybody, mind you, but where I have the opportunity, Alan, I want to be there to just offer encouragement, hope, and truth.
Yeah, that's such well said, that having that empathy, having that passion to help others. And that's what we do here at the Alan and Aaron Sports Creator Show. We have the passion to help athletes. And if you're not in athletics, that's okay too.
Yeah,
But we want you to be mentally sound. We don't want to hear these horrific stories, because I have empathy too, that is gut wrenching. So a lot of these stories are people that I've never met before, but I just feel so bad.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we're conditioned. I mean,
Yeah.
when you see, gosh, I mean, we pick up my ESPN app, and you're scrolling through story after story, and mind you, there's always going to be a story of someone that has fallen, where there's domestic violence, where there is alcohol, drug abuse, death, and it's not isolated for sports, but it's a part of our life. It's a part of life. And these, for us as lay people, we're on the sidelines watching this beautiful, beautiful landscape of very, very talented people. And so many of them, as talented as they are, make poor decisions. And we were given, all of us, a gift of a choice. And
Yes.
that individual, sometimes they've been so coddled and so enabled all their life, they just think they can do whatever they want, without accountability. And it's sad to see them, but it's also a joy to see the ones that are grounded,
Yeah.
you know, grounded in their just mentally and physically, and just their behavior, their character. That is a joy to see,
Yeah.
especially in professional sports.
Yes. And one thing that, one advice I would like to hear from you is, from society, when you do see somebody who you see that maybe is struggling, we have a tendency to pile it on with the negativity. What can you advise people to maybe hold some of that back?
I would say, there's, what is that? The saying in the Bible is, he without sin, go ahead and throw the first stone. Well, no one threw any stones, man. All you have to do is realize that those people are people. They have, they've got feelings, they got emotions, they make poor decisions, which we all do. They also have character defects, just like us. And who are we to judge? It's just unfortunate, Alan, because the news cycle is so overwhelming. It's to the minute that something's going down, and then all of a sudden cameras were placed in phones, and so any athlete that is out is going to be filmed, messed with, challenged. And they're human people, they're just human. And you hear Barkley and some of the others that say, listen, man, I'm just an average guy, but I'm I get it. When I'm out, people are going to try to challenge me. And they're human people. But the piling on, that is what I think saddens me the most at every level in our society.
Yeah.
We put people guilty before they even have a chance.
Yes.
They are guilty. They're so opposite of being innocent until proven guilty. But we as a society, it's really, really warped. We
Yeah.
just pile on and think, oh, they're the most terrible person in the world, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, the news comes out and they have an opportunity to have a platform for explanation. And it wasn't that at all,
Mhm.
you know.
Yes.
And
You're
that's not
absolutely
only
right.
athletes, but that's just life, with the shootings and the other things. We're so quick to jump to conclusions in our society these days. And with athletes, it's no different. They fall and it's like, oh, well, millionaire, spoiled, coddled, enabled, thing. No, that person has a heart,
Yeah.
and that person deserves an opportunity, for understanding and empathy, and then let them be able to heal and get restored and figure out what went down. And the news, it may come out totally opposite of what we as society think it looks like.
Yeah, that's great advice. And basically, that's right. Society, we can stop challenging somebody who you see as an athlete or somebody
Yeah,
celebrity, and two,
yeah.
don't pile it on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard. It's so difficult for them. But the other part of it is, fans will sit back and, well, they asked for it. They're in that position, and they didn't sign my card. They didn't do this or that. Well, they have boundaries, just like you do. Just because they're an athlete doesn't mean you're their best friend, and you should encroach on their boundary.
Yeah.
Let them be. If they engage you and say, yeah, sure, you know, come, I'll talk to you, take a photo. My son's, we had Cal Ripken at one of our basketball tournaments. And, my son walked up and he said, actually, Connor, he goes, I'm being a dad today. And, Connor was like a little hurt. But at the same time, Cal was like, I'm here to watch my son and I'm just being a parent. And
Yeah.
Connor was old enough to understand, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. And he's kind about it. He wasn't snarky or being rude or dismissive.
Yeah.
He, but they're out in society and they're just human. They're human. And, we all should elevate the level of respect we have for each and that brothers and sisters all throughout our society.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you brought up Cal Ripken, and from personal experiences from meeting Cal, I think it was just bad timing because Cal is one of the best fan friendly, guys you can meet. I've
Oh yeah.
literally
Oh yes.
seen him
Yeah.
him sign from the right field fence all the way to almost home plate down the line of at least
Yeah.
300 to 500 people,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah. Yeah. It just wasn't his day. And
Yeah,
and and that's his right.
you know,
You know, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I think he was a great ambassador for the game of baseball
yeah,
and certainly Baltimore. And but we've seen others that are out. Um, we used to go to a tournament down at Georgetown University Summer League all the time, and we would see so many, and they were always cool about it.
yeah,
That was their environment. They were there. It wasn't a professional game, but it was, low key summer league. And, my boys loved it because they were right there, big names playing, and
right.
they were cool. They were very cordial and things. So, but they're people,
Yeah,
you know, they're yes, they make a lot of money, most of them, and they're in the public eye more than any of us are. And,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean, we have the right to encroach on their space. And
right.
we just have to use caution
That's
and
right.
respect.
And that's a great point. And, that's fantastic that, no doesn't mean no forever, when it comes to athletes. I've gotten turned down for autographs. I've gotten turned down for photo ops. I've gotten a
Yeah,
lot, but I've also gotten turned down. But I understand that sometimes the timing is just not right. It just doesn't happen
yeah.
then. It's not always personal. As a society, we just need to just take a deep breath. Maybe you caught them at the wrong time.
Well, we all have our days,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what here's the part that, when we have a situation in life, it's a balance of emotion and logic.
Mhm.
Now, you see a big name athlete, and naturally the emotion takes over immediately. Oh my gosh. And you're like full steam ahead. And versus logic, the logical part is to observe. Is this the right time? Is this the right place? Is he approachable? What should I do? And that's the mental part of everything we do in life
Yeah.
is balance of emotion and logic. Oftentimes we tend to, when a decision needs to be made or something, we tend to mentally go to the emotional
Mhm.
swings emotionally. And then suddenly logic kind of enters in and reaches one another. And then it's like, that's probably not a good idea, you
Yeah.
know. And we need to check ourselves on a regular basis, think more logically than, you know, rush on emotion.
That's right. Think for you. You go ahead and act. That's right. And that's what we want to do in life and to be successful. But how
Yeah.
can people follow you and get a hold of you to get to you to be at their next speaking engagement or get a copy of your
Sure.
book?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. My book would be, I have a couple different websites. My book website is Stop Hiding, Start Healing Book.com. Stop Hiding, Start Healing Book.com. I can be reached at my personal website at craigdbrown.com, craigdbrown.com. And for speaking engagements or any of that, I can be reached at either of those websites. And then I also have I'm on LinkedIn as well, and also Facebook, my Stop Hiding, Start Healing Facebook page as well. And I'm more than, if anything that we've discussed today that is your audience has touched on, that's triggered something in them to think, gosh, that's something I should really work on. I'm more than happy to be available at it, and reachable. So any help I can be in any way. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So we'll make sure we follow you. We put you in the best light to get those opportunities. And we really appreciate you joining us on the Allen Aaron Sports Talk Radio Show, Mr. Craig Brown. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I truly enjoyed it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.